pictures now, old man.
Hello there, this is Sword with Audio Smith. Today I wanted to dive into a review on the Koss KSC75, a budget clip-on I see constantly mentioned and recommended for its budget price of $19.99. Now before we jump in, if you don't want to listen to me ramble or stare at my ugly mug, I will have a written review over at audionotions.com, the link will be in the description. I would also like to give a shout out to Awesome Danny for making this video review possible. His channel will also be in the description. Now with that out of the way, remember that audio preferences are subjective. We won't always agree on the same things, but that's part of the beauty of our hobby. There's something out there for everyone. First up, let's talk about the build and comfort of the Koss KSC75. At this price point, you might expect some compromises in the construction, but surprisingly I feel the overall build is fairly solid at this price point. The headphones feature a simple yet functional design with a gray plastic circle and vent holes connected to a gray plastic arm that attaches to a metal ear hook to throw some high quality materials in there. But as with any piece of gear, be cautious with rough handling. I don't know how well they'll stand up to heavy abuse. Comfort-wise, I had a great experience with the KSC75 with a few adjustments of the ear hook. I was able to achieve a nice comfortable fit, and I could wear them for hours without any discomfort or fatigue. However, keep in mind, fit can vary from person to person. My partner, for instance, had some difficulties finding a comfortable position, and even after adjustments, she couldn't comfortably wear them for that long. So the fit kind of depends on the individual. Most people, I don't think, will have a problem wearing them. But mileage might vary. As for the accessories, they're pretty much non-existent, with only the bare minimum included so that it can be used. It has an OK fixed cable and pre-installed foam pads. Now let's talk about the sound quality of the Koss KSC75. Out of the box, they are a bit rolled off and thin, best described as a neutral with bass roll-off, but with emphasis on the upper mids, I find. They are a bit aggressive in the upper mids for certain music genres, however tonally it is fairly neutral despite missing the sub bass. There are some grain in the mids and the timbre can be a bit fuzzy, I find. In terms of bass, the KSC75 has that significant roll off in the sub bass, and the mid bass for me lacks quantity and quality. Don't expect rumble or punch. Despite all that though, I did find because of that, they worked well for orchestral and jazz music and really let other instruments take the spotlight without getting overpowered at all. The mid-range is good, but as I said before, the upper mids are a little too emphasized and forward for my taste on rock and metal tracks. Percussion sounds good for the most part, but I also found solo string instruments to be metallic and grainy. Wasn't a big fan of solo instrumentals here. Vocals come across as fairly versatile with a natural sound across various genres. Male and female vocals sound good, but some baritone vocals are going to lack the warmth that they deserve. Regarding the treble, the KSC75's treble is a bit lacking for me, but it still manages to produce decent details at this price point. However, depending on your library and individual preferences, the treble can be a little bit fatiguing, especially with 80s rock and metal, which I found very sibilant and thin. Now, let's talk techs. Unfortunately, the KSC75 falls a bit short for me in this department. While the driver handles busy tracks without congestion, the soundstage, depth, width, height, and separation are all quite disappointing, especially considering this is a headphone. Compared to other options, even budget flatheads like the Vito, I don't think the KSC75 really stands out in this regard at all, when something that's $3 to $5 or so is competing tech-wise with a $20 headphone isn't that great. Dynamics I found are quite lacking, leave a lot to be desired. It is a budget headphone, so it is to be expected. However, there are other budget options in different transducers that are more dynamic at the price point. I also found the KSC75 to be slightly veiled, more noticeable in solo instrumentals than I did on busy tracks. That being said, I did find the imaging quite good, which will lead over into our gaming segment. Now for gaming performance, despite the smaller soundstage and lack of separation, I found the KSC75 surprisingly enjoyable for FPS gaming. The imaging offers a good sense of locational awareness, making it easier to detect the sounds around you. The lack of bass and congestion is beneficial in this type of games, I find, as audio cues remain clear and distinguishable. But with that being said, on the opposite side, if you're looking for a more immersive gaming experience, you might find the KSC75 lacking the intensity, and the tighter soundstage doesn't help pull you into the game world. It kind of feels closed off and empty. Now let's talk modding on the Koss KSC75. Many KSC75 users that I have talked to have delved into modding or customizing these one way or another. While I personally haven't tried any of these mods, some people find it a good way to enhance the performance or fit and comfort. They might upgrade the ear pads for more sound isolation or to alter the sound signature a bit. There's also the MMCX mod that lets you use your own cables instead of this fixed one, as well as a headband mod so you don't have to use these ear clips and have a more comfortable, longer lasting fit with these. However, it's essential to remember that modding can be a bit of trial and error, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea. Personally, I would prefer to invest in a higher quality transducer from the start to get the best sound possible. But with all that being said, since I do have the base product, I might consider trying some mods in the future, and if I do, I will share my experiences with it. In conclusion, the Koss KSC75 is sort of an enigma to me. It's often recommended, but in the current market, I feel it's a bit outdated and outclassed by its competitors. While it's an okay headphone for $19.99, the market has evolved with flatheads and IEMs and even speakers, and I feel that there are better options available at this price point. For gaming on a budget and needing accurate imaging, they could fit the bill, provided they fit you properly. However, if that's all you're looking for, you could use the Amazon Basic USB-powered speakers at $17, which I have used and tested a bit, and I think they would be a much more versatile choice if you were just looking for gaming. They also have a more full sound if you wanted to use them for music as well, but at this price point I would probably recommend going for some of the plethora of IEMs that are out there, or even the Vitos or budget flatheads if you needed that bigger soundstage. I feel like those all offer a more well-rounded sound signature and more value for your money at this time. Remember, audio gear is all about personal preferences, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Choose what suits your taste and needs the best. Thanks for tuning into the review. If you found information helpful, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel for more audio-related content. Peace.